Welcome to Sustainable Packaging with Cory Connors. My guest today is Mr. Noah Godfrey, the co-founder of Ampliphi. How are you, sir?
Yeah, doing really well, Cory. Thanks so much for having me on. Always excited to talk about plastics and sustainable packaging.
We really appreciate this. You guys are doing some great things in the sustainability space. And I'd just like to hear kind of your background. How did you get here? What brought you to packaging world? Let us know.
Yeah, absolutely. I've always been particularly interested and potentially obsessed with plastics. Kind of beginning in college, I was interning and working for nonprofits in the space. That led me to pyrolysis. And then after, actually, I met my co-founder of Ampliphi while working for one of the leading environmental consultancies that was engaged in plastic credits. And
Oh,
we
wow.
actually met, yeah. And we actually met in Goa, India. And here we were working to help companies streamline finance to develop plastic waste management infrastructure and organize cleanups. But I think what we kind of realized there was we didn't feel like our efforts were really truly moving the needle towards reducing the flow of plastics into the environment. And we wanted to focus on being more active and less reactive. And I think what we figured out was the plastics problem is really a data problem. And Cory, as I'm sure you know, it's very difficult to get into this industry. It's not easy to understand initially. Right. And although there's been incredible momentum in the sustainable packaging sector, there's still a pretty large entry barrier for companies to understand what solutions work for them or their business model. So that's kind of my background and the background of essentially how we started Ampliphi.
Well, that's a fascinating story. And you're right. Almost everyone that I interview says, I kind of fell into this, or I didn't really plan on this. So not everybody goes to college and says, I want to be in the packaging industry. But I appreciate what you're doing there. So can you tell us about what is Ampliphi and what it is that you guys do for the world of packaging?
Yeah, absolutely. So at its core, I would say Ampliphi is an environmental consultancy, specifically, of course, focused on plastics. We have a SaaS platform where we help consumer brands take action to reduce the plastic footprint of their operations and supply chain. So I guess to kind of give you a quick overview of how it works, we begin by analyzing their data, where on our dashboard, we'll map their plastic footprint and we'll surface their insights and intelligence. We'll also perform a scenario analysis to make sure that each company enables the highest level of impact. Next, we'll create a tailored reduction strategy for them, which takes the form of a list of reduction recommendations that falls under this criteria of reduce unnecessary plastics, improve essential plastics, and then accelerate systems change. And I think what's exciting about this is we attach a unique solution provider or providers to each recommendation. So for instance, if the recommendation is to introduce PCR into your primary packaging, we'll connect a solution provider or providers that will help solve this problem. And I think that's kind of what makes it unique is this nexus we're creating. We have a platform essentially a marketplace of solution providers where brands can find and implement a variety of plastic alternatives, sustainable packaging implementations, or circular economy integrations. And they're all specific to that specific company. And finally, we'll give them the tools to report on and communicate the plastic footprint and their progress towards reduction. And and also we're excited to launch our UK plastics tax reporting portal by the end of this month. So that's we're really excited about that.
Wow. So tell us about that. The UK is doing something interesting with taxes.
Yeah, so pretty amazing. This is an emerging legislation. So essentially the EU passed the plastics taxonomy that's taxing all the member states, and quite a few countries are now responding. So specifically, the UK has a plastics tax that's beginning in April of this year. And any company that imports or manufactures plastic will have to report on their plastic footprint. And if they use more than 10 tons, they'll have to pay the tax. And it's 300 euros per ton. And of course, there's a lot of different variation of what it counts for plastic, what doesn't.
Wow, that's amazing. I had heard about a plastic tax over there, but no one had explained it to me in detail like this. This is very interesting.
Yeah, I think it's really exciting. And, I think we're seeing EPR legislation in Maine and Oregon, and it seems to be more pervasive, like it could be adopted across maybe across the world.
Yeah, so for the audience, EPR is extended producer responsibility. And I agree with you, Noah, this is the future. And well, it's the present right now. And what it's going to do in my opinion, and I'd love to know your thoughts on this, it's
Mhm.
going to take recycled material and it's going to make it really valuable.
Yes. Yeah. So I think we kind of know at this point that our recycling system needs some love. It needs some work. You know, I think we all know the stat that only 9% of our plastics are properly managed. And we need to be introducing more post-consumer recycled content. And this will hopefully get the gears turning. Oh, and one thing I guess I can add about the plastic stacks to kind of reinforce this is that if the plastic is composed of more than 30% recycled content, it doesn't apply for the tax. So it's really pushing this recycled content and the kind of EPR scheme.
Wow. And that starts in April.
Yep.
So this
April
is
this year.
this is like right now. Yeah.
Yeah. We're really excited. I it's gonna really cause some waves.
My friend Sean Drew owns a PET recycling facility in South Africa.
Oh, wow.
And they instituted EPR in November of last year. And he said already recycled plastic has become so valuable that they can't even find it locally. They have to import it.
Wow,
So
that's amazing. And similarly in the UK, I think a lot of recycled plastic content is being sold out. No one can find it anymore. And you know, that'll just increase the gears turning. I mean, we'll hopefully see a lot more recycling infrastructure being set up to support the demand.
I think that's the goal, right? Or that's the
Yeah.
hope, I would say. There could be some other negative things that come from this, but I really hope the positive is laws will change and plastic will become easier to recycle because it's more valuable to recycle. So, man, yeah, this is very exciting news. I didn't know that. Great.
Yeah, it is definitely kind of the dream. I think of all of us sustainable packaging, lovers, it is the dream to see this happening. And that's pretty exciting.
Yeah. So can you give us some of the ideas of things that you recommend companies do with your services?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think first, it's really important to understand the nuances of their operations and supply chain because every recommendation will be unique. And also I have to say, of course, that you should definitely perform an LCA to make sure that any integration or implementation of an alternative, it should be net carbon or lower. But yeah, so I think that some exciting things, of course, are introducing PCR or introducing reuse schemes for either products or shipping materials. And I think there are simple things too that we can do that not only just removing unnecessary plastics, but like thinking about your packaging or as more kind of as an optimization, because you can reduce the color and make it clear to make it much more recyclable, or we can reduce the amount of plastics we're using in the packaging, just in the tops or in the associated products. So I think that there's so many different ideas out there. And I think that once a company kind of understands or the nuances of their supply chain and operations, they can really dive deep and see what works for them.
Yes. Do you urge people towards a monomaterial when you're talking about plastics?
Yeah, I think if you can use a monomaterial, you absolutely should. And I think what's interesting too is thinking about the geography you're in and that you're selling to, because
Right.
As you mentioned that he's your friend as a PET plant, and that's clearly making it a high value plastic in that area. So if you're selling to areas that have PET, it's a high value, it'd be great to use your products out of that material, which I think is definitely geographic considerations is a huge piece of this.
Yes. One of my interviews on this podcast was with Dow Specialty Plastics, and they're developing some amazing multi-layer yet still mono material, if that makes sense. Yeah, so they figured out how to make the different layers perform differently while still keeping that totally recyclable and one material with binding agents that will recycle easily. So this is exciting.
Yeah, that is exciting. I listened to their podcast and it's very good as well. And they have a lot of innovation. They really do. They're putting a lot of time into thinking about new polymers. It's exciting to see.
Yes, very much. One of the things we did was a big push for America Recycles Day, and asking people to take their plastic to the in-store plastic recycling that that generally, at least for our area, goes to Trex. Are you familiar with Trex?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, so Trex takes poly bags or poly material, mostly polyethylene, to-go bags, stretch film,
Sure.
for pallet wrap, and they turn it into a wood replacement material that's used for decking and all kinds of things. They're one of my next podcasts coming out, but 140,000 poly bags turns into about 500 square feet of decking.
Wow, that's surprising a lot. I'm surprised by that number.
And you never have to paint it, and it lasts for 25 years, and all of these things. So there are some benefits to recycling and downcycling or upcycling, however you want to look at that. But yeah, great. Well, tell us more about Ampliphi and your team. What kinds of things are you working on now?
Yeah, so my co-founder, Dominic, he is based in Switzerland. So we're definitely, geographic agnostic. We'll definitely kind of help anyone in any part of the world. And yeah, we have a few other kind of part-time team members all around some California. Some are still in school, but yeah, I think we have some exciting things coming up next. So we're really excited about the UK plastics tax portal. We're working on a packaging database at the moment that will enable brands to search for a piece of packaging or a product, and then they can see where the industry benchmarks are, so they can understand, okay, so this is the average weights, this would be a good weight, these are the interesting case studies associated. So yeah, that's another thing that we're really excited about. And I think the other really piece is a consumer engagement, where we can help companies survey all of their employees, and then they can kind of see their plastic footprint. They can get recommendations of what they can improve on and that sort of thing. So essentially an employee engagement kind of plastic reduction portal.
What a great idea. There's, think of a company that has 5,000 employees. If 10% of them participate, that could make a real impact, on recycling or reusing or whatever it is that you're suggesting them to do.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, I think as consumers, we have the obligation to vote with our dollars and essentially do as much research as possible to see what's out there and what the footprint of our brands really is. So yeah, I think that there's some amazing solutions out there that we should be supporting.
Definitely. So what kinds of things would you guys recommend for the employees to do? I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's, so essentially we're calculating everything from the microplastics to the macro, from your tire abrasion to your to-go containers. And of course we're going to say carpooling and that sort of thing, but I think there's certain things, just like your reusable water bottle is massive, and taking a to-go bag. I did this interesting study while I was actually at my environmental consultancy, and we surveyed thousands of people, and we learned that the people that used reusable shopping bags were a much higher percentage more likely to make more sustainable solutions throughout their day, or more sustainable decisions, I should say. So it's kind of like a snowball effect, that you make one choice and it'll lead to more. So I think that's kind of where we're trying to go with this, is that get yourself in the mindset of taking your to-go bag or bringing your reusable water bottle, and then more choices will follow.
100% agree. Yeah. If you're not considering it at all, it's not going to be a concern. But once you open that door for change and for understanding that, yes, the one person that's making this one, different decision because of this is an effect that's important.
Yeah.
Yeah. Really 100%. Well said. So I have some specific questions here I want to get to. Is recycling the largest part of the solution of sustainable packaging in the future?
Yeah. This is a very hard question.
Oh yeah.
As I'm sure you know.
This is a big one. This is not easy.
Yeah. And I'm really curious about your thoughts as well. But I really often contemplate this. And to be honest, I truly don't know. But what I will say is that I know it's going to be a huge part of the solution. And of course, we need to be promoting products with PCR and highly recyclable packaging. And the world's infrastructure, recycling infrastructure, needs a massive cash injection and kind of remanagement, in my opinion, to scale. And hopefully, some of these, EPR schemes or such things create the momentum. But I think that when specifically considering plastics, we also do have to consider other options, such as like reuse schemes or plastic alternatives where appropriate, because I think that they all fit into the solution in some form or shape. Just yeah, because I think that minimizing the amount of plastic is really the key, in my opinion, because we don't really take into account all of the negative impacts it has on the environment and societies. And I think that once that starts to be coming into the equation a little more, we'll realize that, yeah, we have to recycle, but we also we can't use so many single-use products.
100%. And that's very similar to how I would have answered that question. I think it's a part of, it's not the only, and some people say it's not a solution at all. And that always bothers me because it's going to be,
Yeah.
and it is a big part of the solution, especially when you consider extended producer responsibility, because what that causes people to do, and if people don't know what that means, basically what we're saying is the producers of packaging or the large consumers of packaging, like a company that's making millions of cans of soda or bottles of water, there will be laws that say their post-consumer recycled material percentage of their new packaging must be X. I've heard numbers as high as 60%, and we'll see. But what that does is, like we were talking about at the beginning of the show, it makes that recycled material very valuable in the future, which helps municipalities, and it helps companies, packaging companies, want to collect that material, and more importantly, recycling companies, they're going to want that plastic.
Yeah, 100%. And I think we have the evidence of this now. There are EPR schemes in India, for instance, where there are very valuable plastics. I mean, the people, informally really, make their money through this. It's not the greatest living in the world if you're waste picking, but it is there is momentum behind it. I think that having a formalized system of this will be incredible, and we'll really be able to kind of kickstart our recycling maybe revolution in the US.
Yeah, I was listening to a presentation at Waste 360 or Waste Expo last year in Las Vegas about the global South, and how there are people that just literally their job is to recycle plastics.
Yeah.
And they were saying that they had the opportunity to interview quite a few of the people that were doing this for a living, and they said they were honored to have this position because it paid so well. And they absolutely were making a living, and so what a win-win situation that was.
Yeah. I think that it definitely takes the right kind of management system. I think speaking specifically to India, I've seen both sides of the equation where some of them are doing really structured well to where they're paying their employees, and it's a really well-run business. But I think it is still kind of informal. But yeah, there's so much potential in it. There really is. And these market-based mechanisms to be able to accelerate change at this level is key in my mind.
Yes, absolutely. So what kinds of reuse schemes would you plan or have you discussed with customers?
Yeah.
I'd love to know your thoughts on that. I know we're all familiar with the company Loop, and which is an offshoot of TerraCycle. Is that someone you've worked with?
Yes, we've chatted a little bit with Loop, and something actually exciting is one of the I don't want to say this wrong, but possibly founders began a company called Again, which is really exciting. So essentially what they're doing is they are building the infrastructure to help the cleaning process, kind of like a hyper local solution for the packaging. So it'll be like a little unit where the packaging can be returned, cleaned, and then picked up. And yeah, really, I think that's a great initiative, and it can be kind of scaled. I think it's specifically in Germany at the moment, but hopefully that'll come to the US soon. And yeah, I think that these reuse schemes have so much potential, but they're just definitely still logistical nightmares for a lot of people. But I think that shipping reuse schemes are not as hard to dive into. And another company that we were partnered with is Returnity. And they're really fantastic. They offer really unique packaging shipping alternatives. Like they have one that's like a chrysalis that can turn into a bag. It's really a unique
Wow.
unique solutions.
That's fascinating. It's like you said, it's a logistical issue. How do we ask the consumer without being overbearing to bring this packaging back and drop it back off, or pick it up from them if it's enough? There's a company in our area called Ridwell. Have you heard of them?
No, I haven't.
So they actually come to your front door and they collect your waste, plastic. They collect batteries, light bulbs, old clothes that you're not going to wear again, things that couldn't be recycled, even where I live, which is a very earth-friendly area but we don't recycle plastic easily here, curbside. So they came in and filled the niche. That's really cool.
That's really interesting. Yeah, we need more of that, 100%. And I think, kind of what you're saying is that Oregon does recycle plastics. I think the issue is, especially where I live in Atlanta, Georgia, we just dump all of our recyclables in one container. The single stream is definitely an issue. And I remember when I was younger, it wasn't single stream. I remember separating the glass and the plastics and the green from the clear.
Right.
And
and paper.
I don't really know why exactly. Why did we go away from that? I don't know.
That's a really, really awesome question. Fortunately, some of the sorting technology is really improving. So what I've seen at some of these conventions and things is our sorters that can even identify what a plastic is with a camera, and then it, with a puff of air, shoots it to a different, conveyor to be processed. Fantastic. And frankly, hard to believe, but it's been proven, it's working. So I think we'll see more of that. I think we'll see some really cool innovations in the recycling industry.
That's great to hear. It really is. And I think I've seen the videos on LinkedIn or whatnot of the puffs of air moving the materials around.
Yeah, it was very popular on TikTok. I lots of views there. People liked it.
I love that. I love that.
So how do people get a hold of you guys over there at Ampliphi?
Yeah, absolutely. So you can come to our website at ampliphi.io. We're also on LinkedIn and Twitter. Would love a follow. And if please reach out with any questions. We're absolutely looking for people to come on board, some brand engagement. We would love to help you with your packaging solutions, or if you're interested in partnering. We're currently, we're working all over the space. I feel like we have lots of exciting things going on, and we're also helping to kind of develop the industry standard methodology behind plastic accounting. We're working with the Prevent Alliance on this. So if anyone's interested in contributing, we would love to really create a standard to help corporations really have kind of the greenhouse gas emission protocol standard for plastic accounting. So that's kind of the goal.
That's awesome. Yeah, there's no way we can set goals if we don't know where we are today. And exactly. I think so. You guys are doing great things. I'd like to thank Landsberg Aurora for your continued support and sponsorship of this podcast. If you're listening, please take a minute to review. We love 5 stars, and share it with your friends and tell them about sustainable packaging with Cory Connors. Thank you so much, Noah. Appreciate your time.
Perfect. Thank you so much.